Hey, how's it going? It's MEGAREACH here.
Shine bright like a prism. I'm back on my mission. Everything's blowing past.
So, as you can see, another one. Had a haircut, thank God, right? It was driving me insane. And went to the hairdressers last week, found out that my hairdresser actually had COVID back in March. So that's crazy, and I'm glad she's okay now. But yeah, it's a relief. Thing number two is that I'm not in my usual setting indoors. I'm outside, sitting underneath a bridge. In fact, I'm quite high up. You can see that's the bridge. That's the second part of the bridge there. And I've got quite a cool view actually over southern Stockholm, where I'm hanging out here. I recently just recorded a podcast just on a bench over there, and it was way too hot in my apartment today, so I decided to do a little bit of work outdoors. So yeah, today I wanted to talk about productivity, creating music, and what I've found to be helpful in terms of workflow and in terms of getting stuff done when you have other things in your life other than just music. Because for me right now, music isn't my only thing, right? I have a business to run during the day, and so music for me is like a second thing, and it's probably the same way for a lot of people who make music, right? In fact, I don't even know if I'd want it to be my main thing as a career. I think I like having it as a secondary thing. So how do you create music productively when it's your second thing, when it's not your main job? There's a couple of things that's helped me do that and make it happen. One of them is making time to actually produce in the morning, right? When I was at university, right, I used to produce late at night, right? I used to usually start producing about 8 p.m. Sometimes I would finish at like 4 a.m. and sometimes go on even longer, right, making tracks. And always what used to happen is it would sound incredible at like 4 a.m. and I'd be working on this like loop or this one bit of a track for hours and hours and hours and then just trying to get it better and better and better. Quite often I was trying to get it to sound like a track that I had heard in the past, and it would sound amazing while I was doing it, but then I would wake up the next day and all of a sudden the track sounds nothing like I remember it, right? And that was just one of the most frustrating experiences. Whereas now what I find actually is doing work in the morning is way better. So what I do is I usually start working on my business at about 12 and I usually finish at around 8, right? That's my day. And the reason why is because I have quite a lot of calls to make, and it just works out for different time zones, and with my customers it makes sense to do the calls a bit later anyway, right? A lot of them want to do it in the evening when they're done with their day jobs and stuff, right? So actually in the morning is the perfect time for me to make music. I usually start at maybe 10, maybe 11 and make music for an hour or two before starting work on the business. I find right after I've had a coffee, right, that's the best time to get some stuff done, like music stuff done. I always feel inspired. I feel in a good state about the track, and I feel I've got energy. And if you work too late, I find sometimes your mind is hazy, and it's easier to get frustrated, to feel bad about what you're creating, and for things to go into like a downward spiral. Whereas in the morning I feel like more often it goes into an upward spiral. You feel good about something, that makes the music a bit better, and then you feel even better and it makes the music even better. It goes upwards and upwards and upwards like that. That happens more often. So yeah, that's one thing that I've learned recently. Working in the morning helps. Another thing though in terms of productivity that I've found is like, don't listen to how you feel about the track at any one time. Like quite often I'll be working on a new track and I've realised I have like this like a curve with every piece of production I make, right? In the beginning I might think it sounds okay, it might have a vibe, right? But usually as I'm trying to develop something from a loop or an idea into like a full-on fleshed out track, as a draft stage, I don't know if you can hear that train, I don't know how loud it is, but I'll just talk over it, right? yeah, as I'm trying to develop a track from an idea stage to a draft stage, you know, with all of the sections panned out, there's always a little bit of time in between that process where I feel like there's absolutely no way this tune could ever sound good. Right? There's absolutely no way in hell I can't possibly picture how this tune is going to sound good. And that's when I start to doubt my ability as a producer. I start to think, well, yeah, my last track was good, but I don't even know if I can make this tune sound as good as that. You know, it's really funny. It seems to happen every time I'm working on a track. That's the first time when I feel a bit shaky. And the second time I feel a bit shaky is when I'm about to finish the track, right? It's gone from like the final draft stage now, and I've fleshed it all out. And I know it's getting closer to the time where I'm just going to say, this is done, let's release it. And that's when fear of judgment starts to set in, right? So you're thinking, well, people are going to hear this now and they're going to be judging me, right? And, you know, as a species, we do not like to be judged, right? Because judgment is like, it's tied deeply within our need for survival, right? You know, back in the day, if we were judged unfavorably by other people, they would kick us out of our tribe and we would be left for dead, right? So I think that's why we hate judgment so much. And so this is what sets in. Cool. This is what sets in when you're about to release a tune, you're about to finish it, and that's the second bit where I feel a bit shaky. So I've found that actually just completely ignoring how I feel about a tune at any one time is usually a good way to go, and just being as objective as possible while creating, even if I feel great about it, even if I feel terrible about it, and just getting a track done regardless of how I feel is the answer for me. In fact, the opposite is true. Like, sometimes I'll feel really, really good about a tune. In fact, usually when somewhere after I develop the idea of a track, after I pass the shaky part where I'm developing an idea into a draft, at some point when I'm working on the draft, I feel usually ecstatic about a tune. I think it's going to be the best thing ever made, and I think this tune is going to make me famous, it's going to go viral, you know, all these thoughts start to emerge, right? You kind of have to ignore that as well. Even when you feel really good about a tune, you have to kind of ignore that, because that can, you know, you can get a little bit too excited and think, well, the tune's done now because I feel so good about it, right? That's usually when you finish a tune and then a couple of weeks later you hear it and you're like, what was I thinking? Because you listen to your emotions. So that's another thing. Don't listen to your emotions. Just get the tunes done and be a bit objective. And time seems to help with this as well. Like, let the tune sit for a couple of days and then come back to it when you're less emotionally attached. It can definitely help. Alright, so I hope these thoughts have been a little bit insightful. I'm now going to ride on my scooter. I don't know if you can see. There you go. I'm going to ride back over this bridge there, back home, and there we are. There you go. And still not used to using this gimbal. Yeah, gotta get on with some work. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next week.